tonight is the 27th of January, and it's the launch of the Double Happiness Company.
We're here at the Free Word Centre in Farringdon, which is a fantastic place to launch a book. It's where English Pen lives and all sorts of fantastic literary events take place.
And this is the launch of our first book as publishers, The Double Happiness Company by Anne Aylor. We have a published author who has come to a small publisher to get her second novel published.
Getting people to review it, getting people to sit up and take notice, and tonight is actually just the beginning of that.
It's set in late 60s America, and it tells the story of a teenage girl called Katie Rivers.
It is about a young girl's dream, in this case to be a ballet dancer.
In the book, we follow Katie's dancing career from her hometown in Fortuna and the cotton farmer through to El Paso, which is the big town, and then ultimately on to New York City. And there are all kinds of obstacles along the way: family, injury, eating disorders.
There's the historical and slightly sinister aspect of American politics.
It is a political book in the sense it is set at the time of the Vietnam War in the United States of America.
What comes across in this book is hopefully a very painful but poignant truthfulness and emotional truthfulness, not only about a young dancer whose dream obsesses her, but also how her family are entangled in that dream and how the family is entangled in what was going on at the time, which was the Vietnam War. This is from the first chapter. The car sailed past the rusted square of metal, heading towards jagged mountains that looked like a dragon's back against the sky. Yucca and creosote gave way to scattered buildings hugging the highway: Apache Motel, Sands Motel, Sierra Ice and Water.
At the heart of this book, though, is the ballet. A great love for and knowledge of ballet.
Anne has lived and breathed this world. She's been there. It permeates everything about the book.
I was totally blown away by her skill in telling a story.
It tells it in a sophisticated way, it tells it with a sense of humour, and some of the characters turn out to be quite surprising.
What Anne's done with this that makes it so special is that it's got a very strong story, but then it's written with such sincerity.
Everyone who's read it, that I know have read it and have commented to me, have said they can't put it down. I think the mark of a good book is when someone says, I didn't get to sleep till 4 a.m. because I just had to finish it.
I think that the Double Happiness Company is something quite unique. The way that Anne perfectly describes that world, but accompanies it beautifully with humour. The book is incredibly funny throughout.
She's really amazing at getting across the character of somebody through the words that they use.
Katie sat in the back seat of the Lincoln, silent, preoccupied, as she watched her childhood landscape slide past. Before the railroad tracks was a weathered board with a huge pink hand, crystal ball and tea leaf readings, tarot cards. She stared at the faded palm, remembering what Orbelie had told her. You will be the healer. You will be daughter and sister, brother and son.
The details of the dance world are fascinating, from the calloused toes, anxiety, rivalry, rosin boxes, and the relentless bar exercises with all their fantastic French names.
At times reading it, I could hardly breathe because of Anne's depiction of the trauma and suffering and difficulties that this very brave and interesting young woman is experiencing.
If this book is any good at all, it is thanks to all the people who have helped me with it and who have heard it ad nauseum over the years.
My most immediate experience of Anne was witnessing the graciousness with which she dealt with people, irrespective of where they came from and who they were.
Anne is a creative writing teacher. She's also a passionate writer. She's passionate about reading and writing. If you've looked at her blogs and her website, you can tell that Anne lives and breathes the whole writing process. She's a real craftsperson.
So she writes as if she was sitting next to you, telling you a story by the fireside. So she has a way of engaging.
She's a natural storyteller, and a number of her short stories have been published, have won competitions. She's been broadcast on BBC. Publishing has been taken over by the marketers and by the finance directors, and no longer do editors and people in publishing companies who appreciate good writing have any say. The bottom line for the major publishers is, will this make us lots of money? And that means massive sales. And so they're excluded from massive sales are most good writers. We will fill that gap by marketing and selling this book in a different way to the major publishers. So we're using the internet. I think we're probably one of the first publishers to make a trailer, as you do for a film. We made a trailer about the book. So we'll use the internet as widely as possible and as adventurously as possible. I think what makes us special is that we're going to be looking for authors and writers who are already published, have been out there and have proven themselves as good writers, because they have deserved a public in the past and they deserve one in the future.
I never thought this book would be born. It was the hardest thing I've ever written. I almost abandoned it many times. I almost threw the computer into the sea. I wept over the typewriter for many, many hours.
She's a very nurturing person, and I think that comes out in her fiction as well as in her professional life.
She speaks to you very closely and does not speak at you through the writing.
Everyone is totally real. I mean, they are. They're living people.
It's all told with great humour and wit and an instinct for the texture of the times as well. And they are really fascinating times.
So I really cannot recommend it enough. It's the most fantastic first book for these publishers.
It was a book that demanded to be written. It was a story that demanded to be told.
If you want to see what it's really like, read The Double Happiness Company.
And I brought it to gestation and birth very grudgingly, but I'm very happy that I did. So this is the end of the launch party of the Double Happiness Company. It's been an incredible evening in many ways. I've been absolutely gobsmacked by what people have said, their reactions to the book, the help that we were given with volunteers, the friendship, the love, and it's something I will never, ever, ever forget and will hold dear to my heart.